What's up, everybody? Ike Jones back in here. The final from inside of Neville Arena, 94-43. Auburn gets the win versus Vermont. Make sure you guys get on in here. Let's talk a little bit about this game. If you are in here, please go ahead and share the content so we can get some more of the Auburn family in here reacting to what we got going on. First game of the season, first win of the season for Auburn in convincing fashion. Auburn went absolutely crazy from three in this game. Um, let's just run down a couple of the statistics really quickly. I definitely want to get over here to the comment section to see what you guys are saying about this. Auburn shot 56% from the field on 36 of 64 shooting, 46% from three in this game, 16 of 35 with a lot of really just kind of jacked up threes at the end, or it would have been closer to 50 some percent from three, which is crazy. Free throw percentage was left something to be desired, 55% on the game. Only 9 turnovers, really only 16 turnovers in this game. A lot of that coming in the first half of the game. Second half, Vermont just wasn't able to buy any shots. So that's really what ended up happening there. Points off turnovers, though, crazy. Points off the bench, we'll get into, because a lot of that was Miles Kelly going crazy from three. They had 36 bench points in this game. Auburn led wire to wire in this game pretty much. But yeah, definitely a lot to like about this game. But I'm going to bring in my guy from the Uptempo podcast, Blake. Talk a little bit about what we got going on. Blake, how are we feeling tonight about this Auburn dub, game one, Auburn versus Vermont?
Man, excuse me. I'm excited. I'll be honest. I love the length of this Auburn basketball team. The shooters. I just heard you mention Miles Kelly, and man, I feel like this could be one of the most athletic rosters that Bruce Pearl has had at Auburn. The guard position, uh, having the ability, the 6'6" guards and Denver Jones on both ends, just Joe Broom coming back, like that's big. Cheney Johnson down there on the inside, like I feel like this is a really complete basketball team on both ends of the court, and your ability to shoot it is showing right now, man. Like first game of the year, you started a little slow, but you come on and everything was falling. And Miles Kelly with the heat check, and I mean he was just hitting it from the parking lot. So I was very impressed. There is a couple of things that you can probably clean up. The free throw shooting was a little iffy there at the beginning, but man, when you beat somebody by 51, I don't care who you play. You're leaving a statement, and you're getting ready for Saturday when you take on Houston, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, it was a convincing victory from wire to wire. I mean, they didn't break 30 until I think there was like 12 minutes left in the game, or even maybe even further down than that. Just kind of they started hitting some shots down towards the end, but it was, I think that's the thing that was, the 3-point shooting was impressive, and I don't know how if they're going to shoot like that, then just go ahead and book them a spot in the Final Four. But what I was impressed with was how suffocating the defense was just all around. This is Bruce Pearl's always going to have teams that are going to play well defensively. This team has bought into that philosophy, and they were locked down on defense. It would making it tough for them to even get perimeter shots off without a contest or a tipped shot. So very good defensive effort tonight against a team that just beat UAB and showed a lot of defensive tenacity. But again, when you're shooting the way that Auburn was tonight, I mean, they didn't really even take a lot of points in the paint. They were raining threes down. You already talked about it, but let's talk about newcomer to the Plains, Miles Kelly, and his stat line for tonight, because you thought it was going to be the Chad Baker-Mazara show until the second half happens and Miles Kelly comes out there. But let's talk about second half Miles Kelly. On the night, Miles Kelly 7 of 11, all 7 of those coming from three, 7 of 9 from three tonight. 3 rebounds in 18 minutes. So 21 points in 18 minutes of play. What did you think about the debut of Miles Kelly? Miles Kelly, who is really still working himself back into 100% health, but able to light it up tonight.
Yeah, the 6'6" guard, man. Like I've always preached that You know, I just always watch the Final Four, and I see teams like UConn. You look at their roster, and there's not a guy under 6'5" on that roster. And I feel like Auburn had a lot of trouble in years past with, no disrespect to Win, but there would be games where he would get trapped. He couldn't beat the trap, and it would just in the Miami game. I go back to that one in the tournament.
Mhm.
Miami had the perfect game plan to stop Auburn's guards. They knew that they had more length and they were quicker on that first step than Auburn was, and I feel like you had better shooters this year than you did last year. And Miles Kelly proved that tonight. I love the length. Like I said, at 6'6", man. Him, just off the dribble, being able to create your own shot is a big thing for me. A guy that
Yeah,
can get to his spot, pull up, and hit a shot over a guy, a tough contested shot. And he was pulling from the parking lot. He was feeling it
yeah,
right there at the end. So it's a big deal for me, not only on the offensive end but the defensive end. Man, I feel
yeah.
like in years past we would get just taken to the rim at times at the guard position. I mean, Wong showed that in that tournament game. Man, it was just I always preach in basketball. This ain't the '90s anymore. If you ain't got the length at guard, you're gonna struggle when it gets tourney time.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely not an issue for this Auburn team. There's a ton of guards that have some length to them. I mean, uh, Pettiford might be the shortest guy on the team, and he's
Yeah,
6'1", right? So definitely not going to be an issue this year. A lot of physicality at the guard position as well. They're out there making it difficult for Vermont to get into sets and picking up three-quarter court, all of that kind of stuff. Um, First half, though, as I said earlier, was the Chad Baker-Mazara show. It looked like, again, he was going to be the guy that was just out there on fire. His stat line for the night reads 4 of 8, 3 of 7 from three, with 3 rebounds, 2 assists. In 17 minutes, he had 11 points. What did you think about the play of Chad in the first half, really kind of getting the Auburn offense ignited?
I'll tell you, after last year and how that ended, I'm super happy to see CBM really find his shot, and he's an energy guy for me. He's going to do all the dirty work on the defensive end, and then he's super athletic on the offensive end. Man, another guy that can create his own shot. And I have all the confidence in the world in CBM, and he really knows how to get Neville up and on their feet. And I feel like a bunch of the guys on this team feed off of his energy. And
Yeah.
so when he's hitting shots, it just frees up everybody else to play that much looser on the court. And I think he is a leader this year.
Mm.
And having that returning guy to come back, and you've gotten to play in the NCAA tournament, it didn't go your way. But this year, a lot of Auburn fans are looking at you and saying, "Hey, we get what happened last year, but bring it to us this year and make up for it." And CBM got off on the right foot, man.
Yeah, definitely a good way to come in and atone for the kind of disastrous way last season ended. Auburn scores 94 points tonight, only 12 from Janai Broom on 5 of 11 shooting. He was 2 of 5 from three. I think he got a little three happy. I mean, the team in general kind of got excited shooting threes tonight. But Janai Broom, a quiet 12 points. Really, like
Mhm.
it didn't feel like a dominant performance from him. 7 rebounds, 12 points, 2 assists tonight in 22 minutes of play. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Janai Broom, what his game looks like and it evolves as this season progresses, because you know they're going to need more than that from him on other nights.
Mhm.
But what did you think about the debut on the season from Janai?
Yeah, I, excuse me. I'm not mad at it with Janai. I know he's going to bring it night in,
Yeah,
night out. It's just one of them things where, I think other guys were feeling it a little bit more. And he's one of those dudes where he's a team first guy to me, where if he can get other guys going, he's going to do that.
yeah,
And then when you need him, you can go to him when his number's called. Um, I, I tell you what, if he's shooting a three and he's making it like he was early on tonight, Auburn could be a serious problem, because if you can pull
Yeah.
him out to the perimeter and him knock down shots, uh, this is just a tough guard for anybody.
Yeah.
Um, it's like I said, I think it could be one of the best shooting teams Bruce has had.
I mean, listen, if they can shoot this way, right? Like I just don't know how you guard a Bruce Pearl team that plays defense this well and can shoot this well. Like this is the recipe for deep tournament run Bruce, when
Yep.
they're able to just come down in transition shooting threes. And listen, Denver Jones got in on the act tonight, 2 of 3 from three. JP Pegues, I call him JP Pegues, 2 of 2 from three tonight. Who else was able to tee him up? We already talked about Miles Kelly. That was it from three tonight. I think everybody else who attempted a three missed theirs. But a lot of great shooting tonight. For me, outside, the story for me, it changed 3 times. Like, I was prepared to come in here and talk about, oh, this guy was the guy tonight for 3 different players at 3 different points in time. Initially, it was going to be Chad. The guy in the middle of the game where I was like, "Oh yeah, he's looking different." Cheney Johnson. I liked what I saw from Cheney tonight, and just his ability to still continue to play very tenacious defense, physicality. But he looks like he's more comfortable on the offensive end of the floor, particularly in that mid range, which is something Auburn was going to miss with not having Jalen Williams back this year. That was
Mhm.
kind of his thing, being able to attack against the zone, get the mid range. Cheney had it flowing tonight, and he looked very comfortable, unlike last season where he looked rushed in a lot of his stuff when he was down. And he looked really comfortable tonight. What did you
Yep.
think about Cheney Johnson tonight?
Man,
13 points, by the way, 6 of 8 shooting for Cheney and 9 boards.
the growth of this kid's game from last year and the back end to what we saw tonight, it's probably it's got to be up there in top of the country. Like, just the progression that he's made, and to be able to get in the paint, make those tough shots, make those moves down in the paint, get tough but easy buckets.
Yeah,
He makes them look easy. And the and one, I thought that was a tough take right there.
it was.
And I just think this is a guy down low, like rebounding. He's going to do all the right things. He's physical, plays his heart out. One of those guys that he's going to put it all on the line, man. And Cheney Johnson, he just he's one of those guys where he played at a level, and he he come in and people were wondering about him. Like, is
Yeah,
he going to be able to compete at this level? And
right.
he's done that. And I think he's one of the key pieces to this team.
Yes, indeed. I definitely agree that this year he's going to need to play a bigger role. And I like what he was able to show tonight to at least give people something to think about. And he had come on towards the end of last year, and you kind of saw
Yep.
the confidence build for him. But it's definitely there to a different level. This is more of the Cheney Johnson you hoped to have coming in last season. We're going to get over here into your comments in just a minute. We're going to close it out wire to wire with comments. But before we do, last thing I want to talk about here is the play of the freshmen. How did you feel like the freshmen played tonight? Now, Tahad Federer didn't score any points tonight. He had 4 assists and a rebound in 19 minutes. And I just lost him on the stat line. Where is he? Why? Okay, Jakai Howard, 7 points tonight on 3 of 5 shooting. 4 rebounds for him tonight in 20 minutes of play. What did you think about the 2 freshmen in their debut inside of Neville Arena?
Uh, you know, I'm not gonna get on to Hyde and harp on him too much. You could tell it took him a minute to kind of get going, and I felt like his defense wasn't bad. I feel like he competed on the defensive end. I liked what I saw there. Offensively, it just looked like he couldn't really get going in a rhythm, man. And
Yeah,
then I think as the game went on, I know he didn't score, but it kind of started looking like it eased up for him just a bit. And I'm sure the nerves were there at the
yeah,
beginning. I'm sure, your first real game. This ain't exhibition anymore, and it's go time. So I feel like we're going to need him Saturday. I don't think we can have him go scoreless Saturday. But man, like Jakai, what the athleticism and the dunk, it's
Yeah,
there. Like, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, hey, insane, man. Like, insane. I want to see the free throw shooting get a little better,
right.
but I feel like there was tough takes. You know, I feel like he's gonna let like the game's gonna slow up a little bit for him.
Yeah,
And
that's the big thing for me. They looked a little bit like freshmen as far as
yeah,
like it's moving really quickly for them. A lot of adrenaline,
yeah,
and you can the air ball from the Jakai Howard 3-pointer, just
yep,
like, and then the free throws he was shooting them long, and it's like, okay, like let's bring the adrenaline down a little bit. Let's get into the flow of it. I think as the season starts to progress and they get more minutes, that'll slow down for them. But I am very interested to see in their first matchup against a quality opponent coming up
yep,
this Saturday, how they respond. For some reason, this is just, a sneaking suspicion. I kind of feel like they're going to play better in the bigger moments just
yep,
because it's going to be away from the home crowd and you're going to feel like, hey, listen, it's on me to go out here and show something. It's going to be a nationally televised game, big first matchup, two top 15 teams matching up there. I feel like they're going to have better games in that one. But yeah, I agree with you. The athleticism is absolutely there from both of those young men. You can see the athleticism out there and the way they compete on defense. I like it.
yeah. I agree 100%.
Yeah. All right. Let's get over here into the comment section, see what you all are talking about. Appreciate you guys jumping in with us late night right here inside of the Lobtown reaction. Auburn takes down Vermont 94-43 in the first game of the season. As expected, Auburn goes crazy from three in this game, shooting 46%, 16 3-pointers on the night. We'll get it started off with Sonina, who jumps in with the super chat, says, Killer Kelly, killing them threes. That is absolutely true. 7 3-pointers on the night for Miles Kelly. And a couple of them kind of ridiculous, right? Like when he walks into the first one in transition, you're like, no. And I mean, it's absolute. Like, let me go ahead and say this. Denver Jones told us at SEC Media Days. I asked him the question about, shooting on the team. What is it like for Miles Kelly? And he said that Miles Kelly is the best shooter on this team. And I was like, yo, that's crazy because Denver ain't no slouch shooting the ball tonight. He was 2 or 3 from out there. He hit one from deep where I was like, yo, that's just silly.
Yeah,
Denver, stop. But the second one where Miles steps back into it from 3 coming in transition, I was like, yo, that's crazy. Then when he hit the third one where it was essentially they just threw the ball ahead and he just came off of the down screen coming up top, turns and fire. I was like, all right, yo, just can we stop the game? Just it's over. Like this is ridiculous at this point in time. He hit 4 threes in the second half, and all of them were impressive. He came out at his first 2 shots. It's like, okay,
yep,
all right, Miles, settle down a little bit.
yep.
And then after that, he couldn't miss, it seemed like he just went crazy from 3. But yeah, Miles Kelly definitely impressive shooting performance in his first one there inside the jungle.
Yeah, you talk about those first 2 shots, and one thing I did like though is he tried to make it. He tried to get into that mid range and pull up, try to see an easy one go in. Um, I like seeing this team drive to the basket. Like if it's not going from 3, get to that mid range, pull up, and try to get an easy one. Try to see one go in. Try to get to the rim, get fouled.
Right.
I think this is better than. I'll say this. I think this is better than watching KD
Mm,
either jack up a 3 or just drive in wildly and throw something up off glass, and you have no idea what's about to happen, Ike.
yeah.
So I think Miles Kelly, his confidence to pull up from anywhere on the court and also be able to have that quick first step and get into the lane, maybe get to the rim, draw contact. I like that about his game.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, it's his size is what allows him to just kind of raise up from anywhere
Yep.
confidently because it's number one. I mean, he's pulling them 3-4 feet behind the 3-point line, so you don't necessarily want to contest too high because he can go by you. And when he gets to the lane again, his ability to finish in the lane is there because of the size. And listen, this is a guy who was the leading scorer for Georgia Tech last year.
Yep.
Like, let's not pretend like the ACC is some scrub conference he's coming from. He was out there giving buckets to big boys. He was out there, giving buckets to North Carolina and Duke last year,
Yep.
and teams that finished well inside the ACC. He was out there giving them all buckets. So this guy can score. This isn't like some fluke. Oh man, he caught five. No, Miles Kelly's a scorer, right? And he's a three-level scorer. He's not just a guy who's going to pull threes, but he absolutely has the ability to do that. So you mentioned this earlier when talking about him having guards that can create off of the dribble.
Yep.
I mean, God, like seriously, like let's not be hyperbolic, but like when was the last time you felt like give the ball to an Auburn guard, get out of the way, and he can go get a bucket for you?
20,
Exactly.
2020. What Samir? Like,
Samir, maybe. Yeah, maybe
yeah,
Samir. And even with Samir, like it was kind of like, he really was kind of trying to just get to a step back three most of the time.
yeah,
He wasn't. So, I mean, like, if you want to go big guard, maybe Chuma, right? But
yeah,
like, there just haven't been a lot of Auburn guard. I mean, and there have been some really good Auburn guards, but most of them have been three or all the way to the rim guys. It hasn't been, I can give you the bucket anywhere along this path. You have to guard me essentially 30 feet. You've got
yep.
to guard this guy or he's going to be able to give you buckets. You just haven't seen that from Auburn, man. And so it's definitely refreshing to have a guy who can do that, even though he didn't put that on full display tonight.
Yeah, I want to say this real quick, Ike, is I feel like, and y'all, I know it's Vermont. Okay, I get
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah. Not trying to overreact, but listen, it's
yeah,
okay to react.
yeah, and my big thing is you see the shooting performance tonight, and I feel like last year we had to hope and pray for somebody to get hot.
Hmm.
And you saw it last year, the 3 of 19 from 3, the 2 of 18 from 3. Those games happened. So seeing that tonight, and you're like, man, we have multiple options. Pegues is an option. Love the way he ran the point. You got Denver. I mean, on both ends. I mean, he could be one of the best in America this year on both ends. I mean,
Yeah.
the kid, his game, I feel like he's starting to really find his role.
Yeah.
And you bring in Miles Kelly. Like, you might not have to sit there and pray that somebody gets hot.
Yeah.
You might have multiple options this year that can get it at any time.
Yeah, I think again, one of the things that you like about having a guy like a Miles Kelly on your team, and even though he didn't show it tonight, a guy like Pettiford even is the ability to go ISO ball. Like I don't have to
Yep.
play, because Coach Pearl with those smaller guards, particularly over the last 4 seasons, late shot clock, they've had to go pick and roll to try to create space and some sort of advantage. This is a situation where, all right, Denver Jones, you get it cleared out. Chad, you get it cleared out. Miles, you get it cleared out. I don't know if I want to go Pegues cleared out, but he
Yeah.
probably can get you a little bucket off of that as well. You could go to Hod Pettiford cleared out. Like you've got multiple guys where it's not pick and roll situation or late shot clock Janai Broom trying to figure something out in the post. You got guards who we can just say, hey, man, late game, go get us a bucket. You
Yep.
haven't had that for Auburn, really. You thought you were going to get it last year. This year, you absolutely have scores that you can just, hey, clear it out. And it's not, to your point, just one guy. There's
Yep.
multiple guys that can go do that. That's an encouraging thing. Looking forward to seeing how they look against some of the better competition that are going to be able to defend athletically a little bit better than what Vermont was able to do tonight. Next chat we got here from Ernest Vaughn, who says the defense was nice. I agree. Again, Vermont didn't even break 20 until like way into the second. I mean, 30, excuse me, way into the second half.
Yeah.
It was they had 20 something points well into the second half of this game. And Auburn was, list 7 block shots on the night, forcing 16 turnovers. Um, Vermont shot 26% from the field and only 22% from three. By the way, a Vermont team that shoots the 3-point shot really well. Like this is and again, I get it. It's Vermont. They're not in the same blah, blah, blah. This is a team that's made the tournament consistently, right? Like, so it's not as, and they returned a lot of starters from a team that was just in the tournament. So it's not like you're facing scrubs, they're not the elite of college football, but this is a quality opponent to start off with. This is the type of team that you want to test yourself against. Bruce Pearl has challenged this team very early in the season. I mean, listen, you start off your exhibition game against a Furman, right? Furman's not like, again, the name's not going to sound sexy, but Furman's a quality basketball team. Then you go, your next exhibition game is against FAU. Again, the name's not, well, I mean, now FAU is going to jump off because you've seen them in the tournament the last couple of years, but it's not going to sound like, oh, power 4 team, but that's a quality team to test yourself against. First game out of the gate, that when it really counts, you're going against a tournament tested team in Vermont and you put up 94 on them. Like, again, I don't want to overhype the team, but let's face it, they performed well tonight.
When you beat somebody by 51, I don't care who you played, where you played them. They were predicted preseason to win their conference.
Yeah.
Unanimously, I believe. So I don't care. Like, you beat somebody by 51, you did something.
Yeah.
And that defense is suffocating. It's one thing I wanted to ask you, Ike, is how do you feel about Jonai and Dylan on the floor at the same time?
I like it to start the game just because I think it allows you to be able to set your defense in a very specific way to make sure you've got the rim protection, and it allows Janai to come away from the basket early in the game and do some other things that's going to allow him to showcase himself in a way that he wants to for NBA franchises coming up in the future. And you get the shot blocking of Dylan in early, the rebounding of Dylan in early, the energy of him in early. I definitely like it. It's going to be interesting to see what the rotations are like, though, right? Because, Broome tonight played 22 minutes. He had the most minutes of anybody. And that's mostly because, again, he started the game and he's technically your second 5-man when you go into your first rotation. So he's going to have to play heavy minutes, I think, or bigger minutes in some games, because listen, let's be clear, when we get into these big matchups, unless he's magically found the way to not do it, Dylan Cardwell's going to be in foul trouble at some point in time during this season. So Broome is going to be required to play a lot of minutes out there. And that's where you're going to need, a guy like Hudson to be able to come in, even though he's a little undersized, but big body, to be able to come in and give you some quality minutes as a small 4 or a small 5 or a physical 4. But I do like the Twin Towers look there in the starting lineup, just because I like the maturation of Janai Broome being able to step away from the basket a little bit.
That's what I wanted to hear, man.
Yeah. Let's see here. So Nina back with another chat here, said, can we talk about the windmill dunk? We absolutely can. Blake already mentioned it a little bit earlier, but listen, I think everybody who is an Auburn fan was kind of just waiting on an opportunity for a breakaway from Jakai Howard to see what he was going to do in the open floor. And he didn't disappoint. He did not disappoint. I think the thing I like the most about him, I went to the Furman game and I saw him, get the windmill dunk in that game. And then he caught the oop in transition. I think the thing that is most impressive, this one isn't going to make as many highlights, but the putback dunk he had under the rim, that was off vert, right? Like he just jumps up vertically and just grabs it 2 hands, and his athleticism is real. Like that windmill dunk they threw that ahead. He might have taken a couple of steps before he got into that. And easily dunked it. Like he's got real athleticism out there. The springs are serious for Jakai Howard.
Yeah, it left me a little speechless. That's why when I was talking about it earlier, I when I watched it, I was like, hey, I would love to see this kid in a dunk contest
Yeah,
because you saw him give the little look, the little side eye when he controlled the basketball, and he said, okay, I'm about to throw this thing down,
yeah,
and it brought the house down. And I mean, he's an athletic freak, man.
yeah. Yeah, which is crazy because Cheney Johnson was the guy last year. It's like, oh my goodness, Cheney jumps out. Like Auburn has a ridiculous amount of athleticism on this team this year
Hmm.
between guys like Jakai Howard, Cheney Johnson. Like again, I was at the Furman game and I watched Cheney Johnson block a 3-point shot into the second row, and I was just like, yo, what? Like this is crazy. Like he, running to close out, the guy
Yep.
pulls up from three, and he literally, like, it looks like he was playing volleyball out there. He spiked it into the second row. And when I say into the second row, if you've been to these arenas, it's not like the second row is right there by the court. Like it is the court, all of the press row, a little
Hmm.
bit of space for you to be able to walk. Then the first row starts. So when I say he spiked it into the second row, he threw the ball like 10 feet. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say it went to the second row. Like it literally. So
Can can
athleticism crazy.
Can I highlight too also the closeouts on this defense?
Yeah.
Like we made, I know Vermont didn't shoot it well statistically, but I think Auburn had a little something to do with
A
that.
lot to do with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
they made life really tough on Vermont. Every closeout was very, very difficult for those Vermont shooters. I feel like Auburn really played their tail off defensively.
Yeah, absolutely. They but between just bothering shots and actually tipped shots that they were getting on a lot of these corner threes. And this is, I mean, again, that's Vermont's game is drive and kick. You saw that very early in
Yep,
the game where they had they spread it out 5 wide. And this is, talking about a 5 wide offense that's drive and kick based. You mentioned the Miami game a couple of years ago in the tournament. That was their entire thing is like, we're going to bring you out of the paint and we're
yep,
going to dribble drive. And then we're going to kick, drive and kick, drive and kick to try to find those lanes. That's Vermont's game. It's we're going to drive it. And then we're going to, kick opposite side to try to get your rotations off to be able to get open looks at three. Auburn was rotating really well tonight, closing out on those threes, making each of them contested to the point where it frustrated, I think, Vermont to not be able to get clean looks. And then they started taking bad looks. And then even
yep.
when they were getting open looks, they weren't knocking them down. So to your point, Auburn forced a lot of that, right? So definitely a good job for the Auburn defense on that. Um, he hell says Auburn bench scored more than Vermont's team, 47-43. Again, a lot of that due to Miles Kelly's 21 off of the bench. And this is the last thing I think I'm going to say about the Miles Kelly thing, but I thought about this going into the season, and you mentioned it about Chad Baker-Mazara and his quick exit from the tournament. And Auburn didn't really have another wing defender slash scorer that could do what Chad could do last season. So it changed fundamentally how Auburn played, and how they were able to defend what Yale was doing last year. A healthy Miles Kelly changes that situation. You've got a scorer in Chad who can be out there in part of your first unit as a facilitator slash big guard. And then you can go to the bench for another guy who's just as dynamic and scoring. Now he's scoring differently, right? Because Miles Kelly, I think, is a little bit more of a like kind of a true scorer, and Chad's
Yep.
kind of a scorer by circumstance, where it's like, okay, we're going to need to get him, Iverson cuts to try to get him in motion, downhill stuff. He can definitely pull up, but he's more of a mid-range guy. And
Yep.
then, if he's open for three, Miles Kelly is more of an ISO, all right, ball in my hand, let me just go get it type of score. But he gives you a dynamic that allows you to go to your bench and have true scoring, which is something this Auburn team, again, did not have last year, especially when you move Chad into the starting lineup as the season progressed. There was no scorer coming off the bench. The only kind of like guard or wing scoring that you had was KD, and that was very sporadic. Now you got Miles Kelly, again, one of the best scorers in the ACC coming off of your bench. Crazy.
You were having to hope and pray somebody could come in and get hot, like a Trey Donaldson.
Right.
Remember in the tournament game against Iowa, he come in, he went off, and then you were like, okay, well, coming into next year, hopefully, we'll get that Trey, and he'll be that scorer.
Right.
And it didn't work out like that, and you're just hoping and praying because you just didn't have that guy. And in my opinion, that's what makes this team a little different.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a different proposition. And, as they start to figure out what these rotations look like and what, you're going to get a good test from Houston this week or this weekend to kind of see what the mettle of this team is. And you're going to have a couple of big tests early in the year. They're going to have to figure out which lineups work really well together in certain scenarios.
Hey, I real quick, I just looked at the chat. Can we stop playing neutral site games in the city where the school is? That just
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense to me. Like I watched
it's not.
Gonzaga the other night, and I'm like, okay, that's not a neutral site game, man. You're asking Baylor to go to Washington. Like that's not a
Yeah,
neutral site game.
yeah,
It's just
nah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's in the city of Houston, but it's a neutral site game. I guess this is the payback for it being a neutral site game when they had to go to the tournament and play it in Birmingham against Auburn. They were like, "Oh, neutral site game," but it's like 2 hours from where you play basketball and it's in your home state. But like I think this is even worse. But still, um, hopefully Auburn can do to Houston what Houston did to Auburn, which is spoil their neutral site game situation there. But yes, that is going to be at the Toyota Center there in Houston this Saturday versus the Houston Cougars, who are, again, another top 10 team. So Auburn's going to have a real test on their hands early in the season, just as they did last year with Baylor. So looking forward to seeing how Auburn performs in this one. Phil Petway says defense was the most impressive thing I saw tonight. I don't know. 7 threes from Miles Kelly is pretty darn impressive. But yes, I did love the way the defense played because here's the thing. You don't know if Miles Kelly's going to shoot 7 of 9 from 3 against Houston, but you do know the Auburn defense is going to show up, right?
Yeah.
And so if they can play this kind of defense, you don't need 7 threes from Miles Kelly. You just need if you can hold teams to under 50 points, all right, cool. We score 60, we're out of here. We don't have to score 94 points tonight. But definitely hoping that defense continues in the way that it did tonight.
Is Houston a little different this year? With when I say that, it's like Kelvin usually like they're not an explosive offensive team. They
Right.
usually win by defense.
For sure.
And I don't know. I haven't really got to see them or anything like that. I didn't know if they're
I haven't watched Houston play and I haven't looked at their roster. They did lose, a couple of the bigs that they had last
yeah.
season. And so, but I mean, listen, Houston's one of those programs that kind of tends to reload. Kelvin Sampson's going to be an absolutely great coach. So they're going to be prepared to come out there and play. But I'll dive more into that Houston team over the next couple of days. I'll try to see, what their first game of the season looked like and all that. So we'll definitely get more into that Houston matchup. I don't see anything else in here particularly that we haven't talked about already. Any final words before it's late night? Going to get out of here. Any final words here, Blake?
Ike, I just want to say it feels good as an Auburn fan right now with what we're going through in football. It feels good to get this one and get a little excitement amongst this fan base and just see a dub come through
Yeah.
and, a dominating performance. And
Yeah.
so I know it comes on the hardwood, and I say this all the time is, I love Auburn football, and I never want to look during football season and say, man, I'm so ready for basketball. But I'm to the point right now where I needed this tonight.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
needed to feel this, man. So it was fun. It was exciting to get back into Neville to see Bruce and the boys. And I think the guys showed out.
Yeah, absolutely. Before you get out of here, tell the people how they can keep up with the great things going on over at the Up Tempo podcast.
Yeah, you can follow us on YouTube at the Uptempo Podcast. We're right under 2,000 subs, y'all. So get over there, check us out. Me and Dustin, we're just putting out the content. We're going and we watch a lot of high school football. Dustin does some member pods and everything with recruiting, and we get some film in there on these highlight videos and all that good stuff. Apple Podcast, all that good stuff. Twitter at the Uptempo Pod. You can find me there. Dustin at DMashad28. You can find him there, and we appreciate it. Like I said, sub, like, all that good stuff. Share us out. So appreciate it, Ike.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you jumping on with me. Before you guys get out of here, make sure you go ahead and share this content. Let some other people get involved in the conversation. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up on the video and then subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with what we got going on. Like I said, I will have more about this Houston matchup coming up before we get into that this weekend. So make sure you guys stay locked in. But we are going to get out of here. Appreciate you all jumping in with us. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.